Alright, hello everybody, Dean here, your favorite Bulgarian musician, singer, songwriter living in Berlin. And this is episode number 3 of my podcast, documentary, whatever, show you can call it, how it started. And the first episode I told you the story of how I started playing guitar when I was 13. And second episode I told you about my high school life and my band Budio. And how I decided I'm gonna go to music school instead of medical school that I was prepared for 5 years, and what kind of drama this was for me and my family. And now in the third episode I'm gonna tell you about my life in university, my first year in university, in music university, and second year, what this thing was like, what my expectations were, and what the reality was. The idea behind those podcast shows, at least this first episode, is for me to dive back a little bit into my past and to self-analyze some of the decisions I made, and maybe some of my experience can be helpful for you, some of you that are deciding they want to be musicians, or you are a musician, or you're just like a normal person and you're just curious what life like this is like. And first I'm gonna tell you a little bit what being in university in Bulgaria is like. I got accepted in New Bulgarian University, which is a private university, which is the third university that you can study music in my country, Bulgaria. And this university was the newest one, the most expensive one, and the most modern one in terms of equipment and school and teachers and all that stuff. But being a student in Sofia, in the capital of Bulgaria, is a little bit of an adventure on its own. First of all the students, maybe 90%, 80% of the students are living together in like a student's neighborhood called Studentski Grad, which is basically only students' housing and cheap restaurants and kebab places and 24/7 shops, and it's pretty cheap to live there. That's why all the students are there, students who are not from Sofia, from the capital, and who cannot afford their own apartment, whose parents cannot afford it. So I was able to get a bed in one of those houses, and it was very, very interesting because you pay very, very little rent. You pay between 30 euros and 50 euros a month. I'm not joking you. And this includes your rent, your water, your electricity. But the conditions are a little bit simple, you can say. You live with another person in a room, or maybe sometimes there's 3 people, sometimes 4 people. I never saw. Usually there are 2 or 3 people together in a room, and you have your own bathroom, and the buildings are separated by university, so all the medicine people are together, all the physicists are together, all the teachers are together, all the musicians are together. And my university, as the newest university, doesn't have their own building, but I was able to get a room in the building that is for the conservatory, for the traditional music students. And but I was living with a person who's not a musician. I was living with older guy, like 30 years old, that is studying political science or something like this. And he was not a bad person, but he was a very, kind of simple person. He was just getting money from his parents every month, and he was just sitting at home playing video games all day, and then going to university from time to time, and that was all. And sharing a room with a stranger is a tricky stuff, and I never had that before in my life. It was the first crazy experience I had, sharing a room with a stranger in a new city. I was my parents gave me the luxury of having my own room when I was growing up, so I was aware of this privacy of coming into your own room, closing the door, and just having nobody around you that I really liked. And now there's some guy sleeping in my room every night, so it was crazy. Yeah, my university was located 1 hour and a half away with the transportations from these dorms. So I had to wake up very early to be able to be at 8 o'clock or at 9 o'clock for my early lectures. So I had to wake up at 6 or 6:30 and to go to the university. So I was not working in my first year. My parents were giving me money every month, and this is something that usually happens in Bulgaria. Usually when you're a student, most of the time your parents are giving you a little bit of money every month and you survive with that money. And in my case this was, roughly around $200 a month, and I was able to pay my rent and a little bit of money for food, with the idea that I can come home to my parents every weekend if I want to eat nice stuff. And I was living I came from like 2 hours away from the capital little city, so in the beginning I was coming home as much as I can. So Music University was very, very exciting in the first month, but then quickly I started to really change my mind about how do I feel in this place. First of all, for me, Music University was a dream, and in life, when you imagine something, when you dream about something, maybe you dream about this perfect job or perfect neighborhood that you want to live in, or perfect girlfriend that you want to have, or perfect whatever, perfect car you want to buy, perfect whatever. It's one thing in your head and it's completely different thing in reality. And a lot of times when you dream about something, you create in your head this version of this thing, and it's almost never the exact version in reality, so you're a lot of times very disappointed. But anyway, I was expecting that this university is going to be full of people just like me. I was the only person that I know that went to Music University. I don't know, I didn't have any friends from my little city that went to Music University, and especially to that university. So I was thinking, okay, they're going to be like me, but they were not. They were in my classes, a lot of people who came from musicians' families. Their parents were, violin player or singer or something like this, and the kids were just continuing the family tradition in a way. And I didn't have any family tradition. It was my idea, and my family was against this thing. So yeah, very different people than me. There was a lot of rich kids in my university. I was not a rich kid. I was a normal kid, and my parents it was hard for them to pay for this thing. So, and there was just a few people again that were poor and like kind of normal people that I quickly became friends with them mostly. You see, people usually group by different factors, economically or idea-wise or whatever. I saw the reality of music school in the first few months, and the reality for me was, I was believing music is this magical thing that is like ideas and inspiration and everything is possible. Music was freedom for me before I went to music school, and there I met a lot of teachers that were telling me how I should do everything, and stressing you out, and you realize that you're doing something wrong, or yeah, it just started killing my dream a little bit, killing my version of my dream in my own head. I started doubting if I really want to, if I did the right decision, because I didn't feel very comfortable. I hated my theory classes, like music notation and like this type of stuff. I really hated it because it was hard for me. It was more close to mathematics, and even though I was studying chemistry for many years, I didn't want more chemistry. I wanted like music and expression. A lot of the musicians were very uptight in my classes, and I quickly, the first people I met in my university, because my university was not only music university, it was kind of all around university and had a lot of very good media department, but it was also, there were lawyers there was all kinds of people. It was a very huge university, and I met a lot of actors, a lot of young acting students, you can say. And I really liked them because they were fun, they were crazy, they were dressed in a weird way, they were always laughing and like doing some weird things, and they had crazy piercings and crazy tattoos, and I really liked them, and I started hanging up around them, and I started going around with the actors people. There was one guy, forgot his name right now, but he was like kind of their alpha, like this guy that everybody liked. He was older than the others. He was like 27, 28. He was one of the oldest one that's studying acting with those like kind of young people, and he was also a singer. So I started to play music with him a little bit. And I told you earlier that in my previous episode that in this in the end of high school, me and my best friend, who was the drummer of my band Budil, we kind of separated our trajectories a little bit, because we were both doing the same thing, like music, drums, guitar, together like brothers, and he went to medical school, I went to music school, so we kind of separated. And I really started feeling the separation, because even though I some of my music classes were very hard for me, I was like, they were shoving music into my head every day, like music, practicing, and he was doing like medical stuff. So I started thinking and practicing more, and I realized that I'm gonna be, I have to play with other people. So I started playing with other musicians, and maybe quickly I'm gonna tell you what I studied there, because I don't know. I went there with guitar, with jazz guitar, something like this. That's how it's called. And I had guitar, I had a notation, I had history of music, music something, music whatever. There was a lot of different subjects, and there was also English, and there was also computer science. Well, as a musician in this university, I was able to go and practice in different rooms. There was a lot of rooms with pianos and different instruments. There was there was 3 rooms that were locked for me, because they were the percussion rooms. Every other room I was able to go, but the percussion room was only for drummers, because as you know, the drummer needs drums, the guitar player needs just a guitar, so you can practice in many places. But there's less drums than there's like empty rooms with the amplifier, right? So just so more drums, just because, so the drums was only for the drummers, and I really wanted to start playing the drums. And crazily, I had this weird idea that I really want to switch my instrument from guitar to drums in this first year. Actually, in the first 3 months after I went to university, I was already sick of the guitar classes again, because guitar for me was something magical, because I was doing it on my own. And I was kind of shaping the way I want to play that instrument, and I just didn't want somebody to tell me how to do it. I just didn't connect with my teacher, didn't click with him, even though he was one of the best in my country. So I switched my instrument, and this happened. I met the teacher, and he he told me what I need to do to get in. But I'm getting into like the first year of drummers, and a lot of them are pretty beginners. And I mean, I played drums a little bit before that. I was just sitting on my on my friend's drum set, and I was practicing on it sometimes just because I always loved the drums. So I had a little bit of a level already, so I kind of quickly get onto the level to be able to get in, and I enrolled after the first 6 months into the beginner drummer classes. It's crazy. My parents still thought it's a bad idea, the whole thing. Let's see what else happened in that year. I have a little bit of notes here. What was the good and the bad things about the first months of university? The good thing was I had this level of independence. For my parents, I was living in a different city. Everything was very exciting for me. Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, is maybe one of the most exciting places to be in the country as a young person. There's so many small little cafes and clubs, and even though I didn't have money for them, if I eat just bread with cheese for 1 month, I was able to go, one time a week to a nice cafe, or like simple cafe or whatever. And there were so many people, so many new people. Me growing up in a small little city, I grew up with my best friends, and we were all like growing up together, and everybody in the city, everybody, all the different generations, who's friends with who, who's dating who's a sister and brother of who, the whole city, and everybody knows you. And in Sofia, nobody knowed me, and in a way I was able to refresh myself a little bit, and I did that. Some of the other there were so many new people, and I started developing new friendships, and there were different people that made me interested, different girls that I really liked, but I was still with my girlfriend. Some of the negative stuff was I was very poor, first time, just very simple life, not having a lot of money, and I think it was good, and I didn't have a lot of privacy in this room. Let me tell you a little bit about my music change, because this was very interesting. I was playing this punk band music for 5 years already in high school, and I was starting to get sick a little bit of punk music, and me and my drummer, we started experimenting a little bit. In that time we decided we're gonna make a side project, and the second side project from our band Budil was called Dva filma za jedno kango, which I don't know how to translate this. It's called 2 movies for 1 brake machine, something like this, like a machine that breaks concrete. And we decided in this project it's gonna be only 2 of us, and the music is gonna be strange, and I start changing the tunings of my guitar, dropping the strings and making it sound like something else, and making songs like that. And the idea of this, I do a lot of slapping on the guitar in this project, and there was this very long songs, like 8 minutes long song or 12-minute song, and a little bit of improvisation parts. And we were thinking, back then we were 19, we were thinking we were very serious musicians in that time with my drummer, and we were thinking we're gonna do this hard, experimental, advanced music. We were very shitty, but we were thinking we were great, and for us it was like the next level in a way. And to free us from this, just like playing the same chords and the same like rhythms over and over. And I remember on the last youth festival, in the last episodes I told you about the youth festival, which was basically a festival made every year in my city, and sometimes twice a year, and it was organized by our band leader, like a friend who was helping us with the band. And he was trying to get us to organize everything, so we were involved in this festival from the beginning, and we did it for like 6-7 times or something like this, 5 times. In the last festival, I went there with this experimental duo, So I didn't went with my punk band Budil, but we went with this experimental duo, and this was a concert that I will never forget. I'm gonna tell you about this, what happened in this show. We went on stage and we had like 4 songs only, but they were very long, and there were 2 songs or 5 songs. There was two songs that were pure improvisation. We had like a few themes that we were going around, but they were very like stretched areas that we gonna improvise with my drummer on stage, with big sound system, with lights, with big audience, and it was very scary, but we were believing we were like virtuosic, like crazy musicians, and we wanted to do that. So we did this few songs that were songs, and they were a bit strange as well. I went there with slide guitar, and I changed my tunings and everything, just with the drummer, no bass guitar. I was just tuning my guitar a little bit like a bass, and this was cool. People liked it, and then we went to this improvisation parts, and people didn't really like us at all. It was a bit too strange. Some of the musicians that weren't there to play on the festival, they really was like, wow, you guys are doing something very cool. Some of them really liked us, but most of the people didn't like us. And we had this moment that I was on the stage, and I was doing this kind of improvisational thing, and I turned my back against the audience, and I was just looking at my drummer, and we were like into our like worlds, and people like ooh, and somebody threw like a pack of cigarettes at me, and it hit me, and I was like, who the fuck did that? And I had this little like a dick dance moment on stage, and we were a bit disappointed that people didn't understand what we were doing, but we were not really so good. So I mean, now I understand it, but back then we just wanted to experiment. And I'm very happy that I tried this, because it was the only time in my life that I went on stage, a big stage, without a plan. It was crazy. So I started playing with other people in university, and my drummer also started playing in a second band that was like a grunge band with some other of his friends. And me and him started really separate our lives. In that time, a big change in Bulgaria happened, and it was called the occupation. The occupation of the capital. And it's not like some military stuff that you imagine when you hear occupation. It was basically a big protest organized by all the students in the whole country against the government. And I'm not very political, so I cannot talk a lot about this because I don't know a lot. So I'm gonna say some bullshit. And but basically some of the older students were really rebelling against the current government and the change that was happening, and they wanted new stuff and they wanted something else. And this quickly became a huge protest, and all the students, they barricade themselves in the biggest university in Bulgaria, Sofia University, the oldest university in the capital, and they just locked themselves there, and a lot of other students from different universities joined them, and it became this national thing, and people were protesting, and all the old people really supported us, like very old people. That was kind of crazy. Not all of them, but some of them. They were bringing food to the students, and it was like they kicked up all the teachers. It was like in a movie, and it continued like months. And there were students that were living inside this occupation. They were sleeping on mattresses and like backpacking inside this big building, and they were developing a new strategies about how they want the university to work and university system in Bulgaria and the whole system. They wanted to change things for the better, I guess. I went there for 2 days, but I really didn't really understand it very much, so I didn't want to, and I had my own things on my head. I was just thinking about music. But I went there with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend in that time, Maria, that we were together for 4 years. She was a very smart girl. She was a very political, and she get very involved in this thing. One of the best things that this girl gave me for my life, she cannot teach me how to read, I mean, I knew how to read before her, but I was never reading books. And she started buying me books even in high school for gifts, and most of the books were from this from this poet, artist, whatever, Zakhari Karabashliev. He made one novel that exploded in Bulgaria. It was called 18% Grey, and it's a love novel about one guy in the States, and his way of writing really inspired me. I read all of his books, and he was the one that made me into writing journals. Because of him I started writing journals, because he was talking about writing journals in this famous novel that I read, and then I read everything else. And this also, like, this is one of his latest books. I just read it this year, but yeah. And my girlfriend at that time, she had connections in like the book, like with book companies or something. She had like an aunt or some family member that was printing the books in the like the big book printing places, and she gave me one of his books 6 months before it was available for the public, and this was a huge deal for me. I read one of his new books, and then when he had official meeting to present the book, we went there and I met him. I met this guy, and this was huge. One of the biggest things of the first year. But let me see what else happened in this first year. Wait. It went very quickly. This first year of university went very quickly. I was very disappointed with some of my teachers. It was very hard for me. I went into fights with some of my classmates. I changed from guitar to drums, but I was thinking about quitting this university a lot, but I stayed. And then the summer quickly came, and my band broke up. Right, this was one of the big things that changed my life a little bit. My band broke up. I told you how me and my best friend, the drummer, our lives kind of changed, and I was going into the music, he was going into medicine, but he also started playing with other people, and I started playing with other people. So he had this second band, with this grunge band with one of his friends, and his friend went to Denmark and started telling him all these amazing things about Denmark, and he started making his plan to also quit medical school and become a musician in Denmark. So he left. He went to Denmark to see what it's gonna be like to be a musician, and I end up completely, without a band now. But also my music taste started changing. Really, I was sick of punk music, and I started founding indie music. Indie music was not so famous in Bulgaria at that time. There was not a lot of bands that were doing this type of music, and I started listening to Paper Kites, the Dodos. I started listening to Patrick Park and Dead Cap for Cutie, and a lot of this stuff, this American indie music. And I wanted to make this music as well. I started playing acoustic guitar instead of electric, and writing this kind of melancholic songs. And I broke up with my girlfriend. We were together for so many years, and we broke up a few times already in the middle of the relationship. And this moment, it's very easy to have a relationship with somebody and to hold it if you and that person are living in the same city, doing the same things over and over again. But when both of you moved to a big capital, she also was accepted in the capital, studying some politics stuff. Our lives really changed as well. I was deep diving into the music, and she was diving into her political stuff, and everything was very different between us now. Conversations were very very different. I was thinking about different things, she was thinking about different things, and we were bored of each other so many years. Kissing the same person for 4 years, you're getting sick of it sometimes. and we had so many new options now in the capital. There's so many girls there, so many boys there, everybody can date everybody. And we broke up, and I was trying different. I was, having some fun being a student. One of the great things about being a student in Bulgaria is that in the capital, even though you're living like a simple life, you're surrounded by students. So around everybody, everywhere around you, there's girls, and boys, So you can just you can go on dates every day with different people, and it's amazing, you just in your building, there's full of hot, beautiful people, and you meet them every day in the elevator and stuff. So, and it was, your whole neighborhood is young people who just left their homes and they're all alone and they all just want to fuck, So I was enjoying this for a while, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in the second year, because the second year is how it became a little more interesting for me. So in the summer between the first and the second year, my drummer that we were not playing together anymore, he left to Denmark, and he stayed there for 3 or 4 months, tried to be a musician there, and he came back after 3 or 4 months, and he decided he was changed, he was different, because he quit this amazing medical school to be a musician, but there was no band, nothing was there for him when he went to Denmark. His friend was cleaning kindergarten, and so he had his cleaning job, and they had like a proper band, and he didn't try to play on the street or something like this. He just he didn't do anything. So he came back, and he was kind of broken, and he said this thing that this music idea is not gonna work the way we were expecting it. So his dream was a bit killed, and this was very strange, because my dream was becoming bigger and bigger in that time. I was writing more and more acoustic songs, and falling in love with this indie music. I was playing guitar with this actor from university, and this actor also had a radio channel. So I was invited to his radio channel a few times, and I was enjoying it. But also there was this girl that she was from my city, and we had a little romance in the beginning of high school, and we always kind of had a very serious attraction for each other, but we never really did anything, because she was with this guy, or then I was with Maria, and we never really wanted to cheat and do some bullshit, even though I was really thinking about her all the time, and she was thinking about me, because she was writing me these beautiful letters and drawing this amazing she was an artist, drawing these amazing pictures and giving them to me and dedicating them to me. So in that summer, I started dating her, and it was maybe the most magical thing, and changed my life. She was a very dramatic person. She left high school when she was 16. She got kicked out of her parents' place, so she was on her own for a few years. She was just like 1 year younger than me, and she was just living in some other city, not my hometown, not the capital where I was studying, but some third city, with some friends, and she was taking drugs and stuff like that. So, and she didn't really have a very good job or anything, but she was maybe one of the most beautiful girls you will ever see in your life. She had this very fit, skinny but very fit body, and long black hair, and very white skin, red lips. Her eyes were just like a little bit, almost like a little Asian, but not exactly. Dark eyes, and she was like an angel. And every time she walks into the room, everybody fell in love with her. There was a lot of stories about her in my home city, that she's crazy, that she's a witch or something like this, and she became my witch. something I wanted to do for a long time, but this relationship went very badly. But yet, let's get back to university. Second year of university, this time I'm working. My parents cannot really like pay for all this stuff. The first year of university, I was trying to have very good grades so I can get some assistance from the university for the money that I had to pay them. And I think I got some bonus. I get some money from the university because I had very good grades. But the second year, I started working in the university in the gallery, just to get some extra cash. This is where my life started becoming more interesting, I would say. So, beginning of second year, my band is like broken. The drummer just came back, but he didn't want to play drums. He decided he wants to go back to medical school, so he had to prepare, so he had to skip years, and it was like a big mess for his life. I was in my world. I was working in the gallery. I was going to second year of university. I decided I want to start recording music in that time. I was 20 years old, I guess, 20, 21. And I bought little audio recorder like this one I'm using right now for this video. This is Zoom H5. And then I bought Zoom H2, just small little microphone recorder thing. And I started recording because in my university, I went there to study music recording, right? And one of the best things about my university was I was able to just walk in and go into different lectures, even though it's not my class. The teachers were okay with it. So I was attending lectures with other people for my future classes. And I was watching what they do, and they were recording and mixing live bands, big bands. One of the good things about my school was the teachers I had, they were professional, very famous audio engineers that were working with one of the most famous bands in Bulgaria. So they were bringing us files from those bands, and we had to mix them and, make mistakes and stuff like that. And I didn't have a lot of, and I realized the only way that I can get better at this is I have to mix as much as possible. And I just start mixing myself, and I recorded some of my friends' bands. I recorded my friends from Home of a Whale, very cool band. I told you about them in the previous episode. They were doing experimental Red Hot Chili Pepper type of music. And then I recorded myself, and my recordings, I started releasing them as singles. And they were, in the beginning, only instrumental because I was a bit afraid of my voice. I didn't like my voice so much, and I was uncomfortable recording my voice in the beginning. But my recordings, people like them. People from different people. From the beginning to the end of my music university life, I never get along very well with musicians. I never get along very well with the musicians in my classes. I was not very interested in them. They looked a bit boring for me. They didn't felt like me. And in the first year, I was spending a lot of time with all the actors. I really liked them. They were taking me to their classes. I was watching them practice, and they were very fun and interesting for me. In the second year, I started to go around people who were doing fine art and sculpture and ceramics and stuff like that. Also some of the people who are doing film. So the first good reactions I get from my recordings were from the people who are doing films. They were starting to be filmmakers, and they told me that my music sounds very good for film, and can I make more, and I start making more, and I start walking around with my portable recorder and recording sounds from the train, sounds from the birds, in the sky, and just recording everything all the time and making experiments here and there. In that time, the relationship I had with this crazy girl, the crazy witch that I told you, let's call her Alison. I don't want to say her name. So with her, the relationship went very badly because she was living in a completely different city than my hometown or in the capital, and I was working. So in order to meet her, I had to find days because I was working, going to university, and then I was taking the train to my hometown to see my parents for like a few hours, then taking the train to her city. I didn't have a car to see her, but because she had such a different life than me, she was just doing her art stuff and she was taking drugs. She was a bit crazy. She didn't use social media. She was not very available on her phone. A lot of times I call her, she was not answering for like a few days and not answering my text messages, and I was getting crazy. I was thinking, I was 20-year-old boy, so I didn't believe she was doing something bad. I just thought maybe it's too hard, maybe she's in danger. And I thought I had to go there and like help her and save her from something or from somebody. And I was doing this bullshit that I finish work, I run to the train station, take the train to my hometown, then take the train from there on the next morning to see her because she doesn't answer my phone. And then I don't find her, or I don't find her or something, and then she's apologizing, all this shit. It was messing up with my head. It was terrible for me. I remember I went there to meet her roommates. She had this kind of a old family that she was living in the apartment with, and I was introducing myself to them and be like, hey, look, that's who I am. I'm working, I'm studying, I'm serious, because they look at you like, who are you coming here to meet this young girl? She was my age, 1 year younger. I was like 19. So we had this very strange relationship, on and off, very dramatic. And in one moment it went very badly. On Christmas, I remember I was saving all the money I was making, a lot of the money I was making from my job, to buy her like a very good Christmas present, and to surprise her with something nice. And on there was only one thing that I wanted her to do for me, and this was to stop taking drugs, because she was taking hard drugs, and then she was always sad and broken after it, and she was not like herself. And she promised me she's gonna stop, but she was always doing it again. And on Christmas I went there to see her, and I couldn't find her. She was on drugs, and she was ashamed. She didn't want to show up, and on Christmas I remember I bought her this very expensive gift, and I asked one of my best friends to drive me to her city. So he left his family on Christmas to take me and drive me to her city, and I was sitting in front of her window, calling her. She didn't respond on her phone, start throwing stones to her window, all that shit. And the family that she was living with answered and told me she is not there and I should go. And I was like, but are you sure she's there? I know she's there. And they said, no, go away, we're gonna call the police. And they called the police because I didn't left. Police came and then told me to leave, but I didn't want to leave. I knew she was there, and I stayed there. The family called the police second time. Police came and told me to go away, because if they come on the third time on Christmas, I'm gonna get in trouble. And I tried to climb up this place and get in. Super stupid, right? 21-year-old stupid boy shit, They tell you to go, but you just keep going, Anyway, this is how I learned from my own mistakes. To not chase a girl that doesn't give back to you, These dramatic stories, they only exist in the movies. If it feels like a dramatic story, then you should fucking walk away. But this is one thing that you learn only if you get hurt. So I keep staying there, and I'm there with my best clothes, with this big Christmas present. And so they called the police for a third time, and police came and picked me up in the car, drove me to the station, and gave me a big fine, and I had to write down. And I explained them I'm there for this girl, but they said, well, this girl doesn't want to see you. Why you keep coming? And so I was heartbroken, and my friend took me back to my city. And then a few weeks later, this girl was texting me that she's sorry, and explaining me and telling me why you didn't go. I didn't want you to come, but we had this promise, and when you say you're gonna do something, you do it. That's one of the things. If you're in a relationship for a long time, you are used to behavior. My girlfriend from high school, she was we had a lot of fights with her. She had some bad things in her, but she had a lot of good, and when we say we do something, we always do it. And I was just not used to this kind of behavior from people. And I was very heartbroken on Christmas, and I was heartbroken for many weeks. And I was writing in my journals mostly about this girl. In that time, she was my muse. She was my star. I was writing all my songs because of her. And when we were finally together, it was such a paradise for me, such a celebration. But then when we broke up, it was just so hard for me. And I don't know. I don't talk about depression because I think I want to promote good feelings and good stuff, not like negative shit. But this was the most negative feeling I felt in my life, was in that moment when we had this kind of very big drama. Because on our good moments, it was very good. We were going in mountains together and just drawing and listening to music, and it was so much chemistry between each other. But maybe it was all in my head. So I decided I'm never gonna talk with her again. It was a big heartbreak for me to walk away from this destructive relationship, but I had to do it. And I felt crazy for a few months, and I was second year of university, pretty dramatic on its own. And then I decided I want to go as far away as possible, because everything was reminding me of her. My room was reminding me of her because she was coming in my room with me. My city was reminding me of her because I was walking on those streets with her. The trains were reminding me of her because I was taking the trains to see her. The capital was reminding me of her because every day I spent in the capital, I was dreaming about the time I'm gonna spend with her. My room in the dorm was reminding me of her because I had her pictures on my walls. Everything was reminding me of her. So I wanted to leave this place. I wanted to go as far away as possible. And then I heard that there's this work programs for students in Bulgaria to go to work in America, in US, in North America for 6 months, for one summer. And it's very tricky to get on those programs. You have to apply very early in the beginning of the student's year, and usually until the spring, all the places are taken, and you go to this. You apply for this working visa through an agency. That's very expensive as well, and they find you a job and everything, and a place to stay. But I decided I want to go in America in February. And in February, a lot of the options were done. And my parents were not very happy about this idea, but they thought it's going to be good for me to make some money. So they decided they want to support me. And I thought it's going to be a very good idea for me because I'm going to learn English. My English was very bad before I went to America. But yeah, I decided I want to go there because I wanted to make money for my music studio, but actually because of this girl, because I wanted to go as far away as possible from Bulgaria. And I get accepted, so I was about to leave to America in the end of the spring, after my second year of university. Let me think, what else did I get? Oh yeah, I was talking to you earlier about the fact that every year of university I get involved in a different kind of art discipline, because I was kind of sick of my own thing, sick of the music. So the second year I was into the sculpture department, and I started going to this experimental classes that you make things from ceramic, and then you bake them, and you put glazura, this kind of paint, like kind of crystal paint, and you bake these crazy things. And I get along very well with one of the teachers of this class. Her name is Monica Popova. Fantastic teacher, very forward thinking, and she really liked me. I made a weird art composition with her, which was inspired by my hate for music theory, and I wanted to make something that represents the fact that you can record music in a different way than notation. And I was making these pieces that I was playing with drumsticks on this plates that was made almost as a drum, and playing a different song on top of this. You kind of print the drumsticks and like the hits you make on this thing, and you kind of deformate it, and in the end it became like this weird shape. And I did this thing that I took maybe 6 or 7 or 8 different songs I played on the same, like I started with the same shape in the beginning of this thing, and I started playing on it and deformated, and I played 8 different songs in different genres, and they all looked very different because of the thing I played on them, the style and how intense it is, how hard it is. And then I painted every one of them in a different color, and like I baked them and everything, and they represent how the different music genre in different feel makes this thing different. And then I presented them in a gallery, first in my university gallery, the shape, and then next to it I put the notation, how it looks written down and how it looks when it's played out. And yeah, I don't know, it was just like a little idea, but my teacher really liked this, and I did this in another gallery as well in the city, so I had it in 2 galleries in the capital, these things. And I made a promo video for it with one girl that became very good friend of me, Lily Kos. She's a filmmaker, and she started inspiring me about filmmaking. So because of her I was able to kind of forget about this dramatic story with this witch, this crazy girl from my city. So I get inspired with this kind of ceramic stuff and crazy art stuff, and I start dating this I started going out with this filmmaker girl, and she started inspiring me about photography and about analog photography. And I decided I want to make cameras. I made this pinhole camera, which is basically the most simple way you can make a camera, which is a camera by itself is like a black box with a photographic paper in the back and a hole in the front. And when the light comes through the hole, it gets projected and printed over this photographic paper upside down, like something like this, and then you have the image, and you can make this yourself with just some analog film and a match box, or like a little box, and some markers, and you can make a camera. And I started making those cameras, and the pictures you make with this thing are very strange, very kind of weird colors and unfocused, and because super primitive, you don't have any lens. So I started really getting involved in this stuff, and this was my world. Just the 2-3 months before I left to America, this was my world. I was making this weird photography, and I was recording myself and producing these instrumental songs, and the photography became the album art for my experimental music stuff. So I was kind of getting into this culture now, this new was hard. The first 2 years were fucking hard. I felt very uncertain. In the university. I didn't feel accepted. I was not accepted compared to the other people. I was studying there, but I didn't get along with the students. I didn't get along with these people. They didn't like me, and I didn't like them. Most of the people from my classes, there were just a few musicians that I liked. Most of them, they felt so fake to me. Yeah. But if you're a young person, you want to study music, if you can, do it. If you can do it, do it. Okay, end up episode 3 of how it started, and gonna do the next episode next week. Thank you for listening, watching. I'm dropping a new album in 2 weeks called Club 27, about how I feel now, 27 years old, and I'm turning 28 in March, so it's gonna be like a birthday present for me, from me, and for you that are listening those things. Yeah, thank you for the support. I'm gonna make a Patreon soon, because I want to give you a little bit more personal and more like in-depth information about my creative process there. I think it can be useful for some of you. And yeah, self-analyzing journey continues. Write journal, people, write journals. When you write what you feel, what you think on a paper, it makes it more real, but also it makes it more easy to digest. And also you can save it forever on those pages. You can get back to it. Yeah, I wish I can have my journals for that moment of my life. I could have read it and just get some memories. I had to go to Facebook and just check my old posts to see what I was posting when I was like 20 years old, what music I was listening to, all those things, all those memories. Write journals, keep creating. I realized in that year, in the second year, that the only way to become a good music person is to just make things. And I didn't have a band. My band broke up. I didn't have people to mix. I didn't like my classmates. They didn't like me, so I didn't record them. I just record myself. I was using my hours, my working hours in the gallery to mix my music and watch movies, because there was not a lot of people coming to the gallery in the university. I had many days that there were like 4 people for the whole day coming to the gallery, and when somebody comes, I take them around and I'll tell them about the exposition and stuff like that. But most of the time there was nobody, and I was just like mixing my music on my laptop. And one of the benefits about working in the gallery was this huge place that has very beautiful acoustics and beautiful natural reverb. So I was experimenting with the sounds. I remember some of my first tracks. I was trying to imitate my favorite bands again, imitate your favorite bands. I think it's a good idea. And at least try the thing that they do. And this is how you learn. They say good artist copy, great artists steal. And steal, I think it's not a bad thing when you go to art, because steal compared to copy means when you copy something, you just try to create the same thing that you like. But when you steal it, you try to make this thing your own. You take it and you flip it through your own perspectives and you make it yourself, and it's a different thing. And this is how art gets better and better, I think, when when people are just upgrading to the next level and adopting and trying different techniques. Anyway, thank you for watching. DEANisHOME. Ciao.